Good morning, welcome back to the Oasis. We're doing another segment on a different process, a very important process when you're doing vegetable gardening or gardening of any kind. You need to create your own compost, which is a form of fertilizer and a ground cover to keep the moisture in the ground. And here in a dry lands urban situation where the Oasis is, I have to do that. So this is kind of my demonstration model right here. This is probably the most intelligent, sustainable way for you to manage a part of your waste stream. Composting is by far the highest value because you're returning it back to your own land for one. So in the process here, I'm going to just indicate that this is like the beginnings, throwing the gross items in from the landscape and from the home site itself. And as the process moves through, the particles, the pieces get smaller and smaller until you end up with something that looks like the earth from the forest. That's your goal. You want to get forest kind of mulchy, high value organic soil amendment. So it can be a soil amendment. It can be you can put it in a tea bag and make compost tea. You can put it mix it in the soil around, especially if you've got clay soils, when you want to feed the organisms in there. For anything to do with regenerative ag, you need to return the leftovers back into the earth to keep the soil food web alive. And that's what this part is all about. So that's kind of in a snapshot. I'm going to take you on a journey of me taking out one of my bin areas. I'm going to be taking it out. There's going to be a mixture of things that haven't decayed. There's going to be some bugs in there. There's going to be a lot of material, and then as I go through, I'm going to put it through my sieve that's on my wheelbarrow right now, and I'm going to separate the fines that will go into a storage bin for later use for my spring garden, and the gross parts, the parts too big to go through the 1/2 inch sieve or 12 mil sieve, whatever you want to call it, and that all gets back into the pile. It's like for you folks that have done sourdough, you need to return parts of the mother flour, or in this case the mother part of the compost, the bacteria and fungi which are prevalent throughout the pile itself. That needs to be keeping returning it. So if you keep returning it, then the new material is then inoculated with the fungi and bacteria, which I'll talk about a little bit later, about why we need both fungi and bacteria, because they work on different aspects of the materials that are going into this composting process. So meet me over here and I'll introduce to my my 2-bin setup. Thermal mass. Well, I want to talk about thermal mass for a moment, because thermal mass is important to create heat in the center of the pile. The center of the pile has the most heat because everything else is insulating what's happening in the middle. The bacteria and fungi are working to break it down, and that's what creates the heat, the bacteria in particular. So the corners and the edges are the driest and the least composted. Everything, like I said, happens in the middle. So that's why you have to mix. You have to mix the outside with the inside, basically. So what I do to do that is I bring everything out. I process the fines, I put the gross stuff back on the pile, and then I keep on doing that until the whole pile is out. Now I know what's going on. Meanwhile, I have a stash of browns and greens and chicken manure and chicken bedding, all those different bits and pieces. This, by the way, is the chicken bedding that one of the previous videos where we moved the chickens out of their fall location into their winter location. So I'm going to spread this pile out because this is going to become the base of what I'm doing. Now this has a lot of browns evident, but it also has a lot of the chicken poop mixed into it. So it's a relatively close to a good mixture of browns and greens. Now I could be taking these browns and those greens over there and I could just keep piling it on and that could all go back in, but I want to process this first. So it's a matter of doing both at the same time. So as I'm taking material out, I see, okay, I got a lot of carbon, a lot of browns, I need to add some greens. So I keep the ratio of browns and greens fairly even in the pile as I'm moving. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to open up this one over here and we're going to start to see the process that happens. Now I have this set up where I have chicken wire on the sides and back. I have a pallet in the middle, so I have a little bit of airflow in the center, and I divided the two 3 by 3 by 3, or a cubic yard or a cubic meter, however you want to call it. That is sufficient to create thermal mass. So in the process of doing that, so I decided I wanted gates. So I just have these giant twist ties right here, and then I open up my gates. So I have what I know here as a little bit of evaporative cooler pad. This is just, you know, it's just a mesh that allows water and airflow, but also shades. It's like another cloud. It shades the underneath so I don't lose the moisture by evaporation. I keep having to water my compost piles. Now in wetter zones, you don't want to do that. You want to keep some of the water out because too much water will make it stinky. It will go anaerobic. So I allow the water to go in, plus I have 2 openings in my temporary fence here that divides my major social area from my utility area. So those 2 places, that's where I can put my hose wand through the fence from the other side, and I can water these. Every time I need to water my pots, that's my indicator, I need to water my compost area. The reason why I have some solid plywood in front is because that aspect is the west. So as the sun's coming around, that western sun is hot and dry, so this is again a deeper shade for the compost area itself. So I'm going to be moving the material out of here, and I'm going to start with my pitchfork, and I'm going to start taking out my edges, and you can see by that there's a lot of browns there. So I'm going to start taking out some of the edges right here, and then I'm going to add some greens as I go. You can begin to see my explanation in the beginning about the edges being dry, and you will see very shortly that the center will be evidently moist and has broken down the most. Now I need to add some greens to that. I'm going to spread that out a little bit. I'm going to take some of the greens from my containers over here. So these are trimmings from the front and maybe some vines that I had to cut earlier. Keep a pair of shears handy. Just chop it up a little bit so I get a nice even distribution of the greens over the whole area. It's like baking a cake. A little bit of seasoning with some chicken poo. Alright, now I'm going to keep going again. I'm going to keep layering it up. The layers are important and they'll become very evident soon as to why I do horizontal layers. A, it's easier, and B, when I go to return the material back in again, okay, so we're getting closer to where the good stuff is at. Okay, can you start to see some of that good stuff now? So the good stuff's in the middle. I'm peeling off the outside so I can get to the good stuff. Let's now peel off a bit of that. Let's now grab some of this. Put it in the wheelbarrow. Now there's all kinds of things in here and there'll be all kinds of bugs. So I'll do that, I'll knock it around a bit with the pitchfork. Then I put my gloves on because the wire can tear up my hands. Now there's twigs in here, there's bugs in here, there's shells in here. Now the size of the frame is the size of your wheelbarrow. This is the size of my wheelbarrow. So the front bar is important so that I can keep it going. The size of it is important so whatever I shake stays in the wheelbarrow. So it's basically just doing that, and that now just goes over my shoulder into there. Now you can see how the 1/2-inch screen works. There's still a few bits and pieces, big pieces in there, but that's not a problem, especially if you're just incorporating it into the garden soil anyway. It's still going to keep decomposing even when it's in situ. So all this stuff that's on the outside is still the previous mixture of greens and browns. So I'm just adding, once in a while I'll be adding more greens, simply because what I see is mostly browns or carbon. I like to put all one type of green in there, or all one type of brown. The more variety you have, the more nutrient diversity you have. Different plants do different things in nature. Some are accumulators, some are not. As the accumulators do good, I mean alfalfa's great, it's an accumulator. My divider barrier right here, the fence bit and the line, that's a cat claw vine. So the cat claw is bringing up, that's been in there, I don't know, 30 years at least. It's one of my sources of greens. So I got a little pile right here that I snipped off earlier. So it's easier to cut when it's still green. maybe you right now you got one of those drums. Do you have a drum on wheels? Frustrate me. You can only fill it up to the axle, and then all the weight's down in the bottom. So you gotta pull it up and get it going to turn everything. I don't like that. This to me is still easier than trying to do the drum. Remember when I talked about the wire being in there, and the wire is there for airflow? You got to have airflow. It's got to be aerated. It needs oxygen. So these pipes just allow a little bit of airflow in there, and they've got some, I'll get them out in a minute. So one of the things that I also add in here, and I talked about it in my tour, is that I add charcoal. So this is campfire charcoal. I don't make it, I harvest it. So when I go camping, I always take a bucket with me and a small sieve, and I go to other people's campfires and harvest the charcoal. Like I said, I'm just going to keep using it because I want to re-inoculate the new pile. So I don't need to harvest it all. That's not a good thing. Right. So this can go back. And the approximate location, I've got holes on the side, so I'm going to make sure that's on the side. There's the holes drilled in there like that, 1/4 inch holes all the way through. So this is an approximation. Now I'm going to take a little break, maybe have a cup of tea, and I'll be right back to finish up the process by putting it all back in again. The pile is building. It's not finished yet. I'm going to add some more ingredients. I'm going to add some more greens, excuse me. There's plenty of browns there. There's plenty of inoculant there. But I'm still feeling like I need to add a little bit more in the way of greens to the process. The wheelbarrow is pretty much full, so you can see I've got a full-size wheelbarrow right here. So this is probably, I want to say 6 cubic feet about of good solid healthy forest soil right here. Still got good moisture content. It's good to go. And this is going to get put into the storage container, and so it will still keep, moist in there because I have lids for them, because we're in a dry climate. And so when you got something moist, you want to keep it moist as long as you can to keep the life in it, and use it as quickly as you can because you want to transfer the life into the soil. This is the rest of the chicken poop and pine needles. So there's some clumps in here. That won't really matter. I'm just gonna kind of distribute it over the whole thing. Get as diverse of material as possible. So I'll pop that over here somewhere. I've still got another one from a previous time. So I'll probably hold on to that until I process this other side. So I'll keep that for that. But I do want to put more greens, so I'm going to continue to take out the greens that's in the bottom of here. There's some tomatoes that I took out. So I'm going to spread those around, keep my mouth shut. So if you don't do this often, one thing is that some people can have a reaction to the dust. Since I've been doing this all my life, it just happens. I just go with it. So I'm not overly concerned, but I have had some of my permaculture friends do composting, and the lady in this case had a real bad case of fungal infection. So just be aware of that. If in doubt, put on a mask. While you're doing this, can be just go bandito. Put a mask on, the band, and then just have the eyes and the cap. And so now yeah. I'm messing with you. So this is now probably enough. So what I mean by enough is that I want to do a little demo. So we've got the mound. So here's the ground area. We've got the mound like so. So that's what we're doing, and we've been doing it in layers. So not specific layers, because we're taking out the old that was already mixed and we're laying it down. We're adding a few layers of green. So let's say that was a layer of green, and then some more layers, and that was an area of green and some more layers, and then there's another layer of green on top. Something like that is what we've just done today. You have to feel into it. You have to do this 4 times a year. You really only need to do this right before you need to plant out. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be taking the vertical cuts. So I'm going to take that piece out and put it into the compost pile. And then I'm going to take that cut and put that into the pile. That cut, put that into the pile. This cut. You see how I'm working here? So I'm not mixing. I'm intelligently using my permaculture brain and saying, how can I mix without mixing? Very Tao of me, right? So I'm doing it just like this. So I'm create horizontal layers, and then I take out vertical layers. In that way, I'm mixing everything up and putting it back into place. So now you'll see this process now in action with the pitchfork. So we're going to start taking out these layers right here. So I'm going to just move this out. I'm doing a cut. So I'm taking the cut right here, and I'm taking all this material, and then I'm just laying it in as I go across the bottom. Do another cut. You see how I'm getting a real mix of all the different layers from the top to the bottom. The less actual work I have to do, the better, especially for my body as I'm getting older. The older I get, the smarter I need to be. On the composting demonstration box, you saw that there was 3 kinds of bacteria. So there's bacteria for different levels of heat. They're heat sensitive. So there'll be a lot of bacteria in the beginning, psychophilic. Then as the pile heats up, mesophilic comes in. And then as the pile gets to the ripe temperature that's going to be killing any detrimental bacteria or weed seeds or anything like that, that is thermophilic. It's in the name. So psychophilic, mesophilic, thermophilic are the 3 primary bacterial varieties that work in the compost pile. They're now working on the greens. Bacteria decomposes the greens, the chlorophyll, the green material, whereas the fungi breaks down the carbon, the browns. So fungi and bacteria working in unison, breaking down the carbon and nitrogen components that make up the hot composting process. You can do a cold pile. You can just pile it up willy-nilly, doesn't matter what goes in there. You can leave it, you can leave it for a year and you'll still have good stuff coming out of it. I want to do it as efficiently and speedily as I need it for my garden's life. So I need to do this, like I say, roughly 4 times a year. I do the composting less in the summer, more in the winter. Summer's just too hot, forget it. We have to wait till the monsoons arrive when we got more moisture in the air. So May, June, part of July, I don't do anything in the garden or in the compost pile. I wait until I have the moisture in the air, because otherwise I'm constantly watering and that's no good. Anyways, so I'm going to keep working on this as I build it up, but I'm going to do the next thing, which I'm going to add molasses. So I have a 2-gallon. What is that? Is that a 9 litre? I can't do the math, can't do the conversion. I haven't had enough tea yet. So I'm going to put a tablespoon or thereabouts. Ask Monty Don for the exact amounts, Brit people. So roughly a tablespoon in the watering can, and then I'll give it a mix up. I've been trying to warm the water and warm the molasses. So what's molasses? Sugar. What does bacteria like? Sugar. So if I can enhance, spur on, encourage, give them the energy drink that they need for the bacteria, then the process is going to get a jump start and get going. So I'm going to keep doing the layers and adding the unsulfured. That's what it's best to get, unsulfured blackstrap molasses. And the water needs to be non-chlorinated. Use rainwater, or if you have a chlorine filter on your house, then that's fine too. If you don't have none of the above, fill a bucket full of water the day before, and then the next day, after it's been out for 24 hours in the sun and whatever it is, all the chlorine is off-gassed, so you should be okay to go. You never want to put chlorinated water on the pile, because it's going to kill all the bacteria, and you've just spent all this time and all this energy, and in one little mistake you kill the bacteria, and now it has to jump start again. You have to feed it the inoculant and get it going again. Put some rubbishy stuff in there from the kitchen. Oh, that reminds me, I've got a few pots of compost that I want to throw into the middle of the pile where it will get the most heat. So we're getting close to the middle of the pile. If that's there, so you see it's about middle. So that way when I put it in, when I put it in there, it's going to be eggshells and burnt cookies and bits and pieces. So I use my old my cookie containers, or whatever else I've got around. I'll knock all that around in a minute. I'm just going to empty this lot out there because I've been saving them for this for today. Now, what not to put in the compost. No dairy stuff. No cheeses, no milks, none of that stuff. And no meats and fats. So those are the no-nos. The other ones would be, okay, a limited amount. Lemons. Lemons are antibacterial, right? But they have lemon in your dishwashing soap and things like that. They add it there for a reason. So no lemon, no. I limit the amount of citrus just because of that factor. I don't mind, you know, a little bit of orange stuff. So I've just spread all that out in there, and now I'm going to cover that all up with the next batch. And now that's going to become part of the heat creating process. Now I know from looking at this that I don't have enough material to finish the pile. So then I have to take whatever I've got in my stockpile to finish off the cubic yard of material to have the thermal engine going, the bacteria creating heat up to about 140, 160 Fahrenheit. And I use this little gauge right here. So this is a 18-inch probe, and it has the color coding. It makes it pretty simple. So when this probe goes in, this is the top of the pile, it goes into the center and it tells me what's happening in the center of the pile with this thermometer. It takes the guesswork out. When it goes down to the blue zone, you have to mix it. It's that simple. When it's in the green, well, you know, maybe, maybe not. When it's in the red, observe, watch it. One time in the 30 years I've been working on the compost here, it went up to like, went off the scale. So I had to come out here and pull everything apart. It was so hot, and I had to damp it down because one more day of that and it could have internally combusted. And we're underneath my great big Aleppo pine tree, and that would have been disastrous. So there is a very, very, very slight chance of it getting too hot. Most of the time, you know, 130, 140, that kills a lot of the things. It doesn't kill it all. I'm not here to annihilate everything. I'm a gardener. There's wiggle room everywhere. No thing is 100%, including me. No thing. So this process is not 100%. There's no guarantee that I'll get that much mulch next time. It depends. So as you can see, a pitchfork is fairly essential for this process. Also, I would say that some shears or a machete of some kind, or maybe a chipper or a leaf shredder could be handy. Back in the day, I just used a board. I don't even know if I still have it, but I have a it would have been a board something like this, and I'd put it across the back of my thing right here, and I had the greens in my hand and the machete in the other hand, and I would chop it on the back of the wheelbarrow, so I could do it that way. Now I'm using the shears. It's not as fun, but it's effective. Why do I separate my greens and browns? Good question, I say. So, to get hot composting, you need thermal mass. To have thermal mass, you have to have volume big enough to create the heat in the middle of the pile. That with the pile. Then this center, this is cool zones, this is hot. Right there. So, I said that earlier, I'm reminding you of what I said. Now I need to add more molasses water. Give it a quick stir so we get even amount of molasses. Sprinkle it on top. And I've got my water hose with my wand that's right next to me, and I'm going to add more water to this segment right here so I can make sure that I get some of it down in the bottom. So I'm going to save enough of this to be able to put on top. 2 gallons per cube is my formula. You got to figure out yours. So I'm going to add some more water here. So compost process needs water, air, greens, browns, bacteria and fungi, with a hint of molasses to get it started. I have a huge Aleppo pine tree, and so it gives me all the pine needles I need. Plus, I live in the southwest desert area of the Americas, and I have alkaline soil, which I need to acidify. So forget all your books from the East Coast, or from England for that matter, about never using pine needles. I must use pine needles. So they never say never. When I water, that's going to push down some of that nutrition that's necessary for the breakdown, and then the final layer is going to be browns. So basically you start with browns and you end with browns. Again, we want some kind of the mulch layer will be like a blanket. It will keep the heat in, the moisture in, like that. Now we're up to where I wanted to be. I'm going to try and head for that height. So I'm getting my 3 by 3 by 3. So we're going to come back out and we're going to take a couple of images of the temperature gauge. I know it's not proof in the pudding kind of truth, but just trust me. Alright, that's got some moisture on it right now. That's probably enough for the moment. Take note of where it's at right now. Give it a moment until it cools off with the moisture, the water content inside. So that gives you an idea of the starting point. So we have the bed filled, and yeah, we got about 66 degrees. And the whole process gave me a wheelbarrow load of material, which I'm now going to put in my storage container. This will be used next February. In February I'll use this because I'm going to be planting my early spring bed with the primary tomato in guild formations. So that's going to be where the chickens came out, and the compost is going to go back, and other amendments go in, and then the tomatoes go in. Oh, there's one other thing I should probably mention, and that is the two kinds of sieve. So here's the 1/2 inch, and this is the 1/4 inch. So the 1/4 inch I take the mulch that we've just finished, I take that and I put it through the 1/4 whenever I'm doing seed tray starts. So if I'm doing a seed tray, I need it to go through the final sieve, the 1/4 inch sieve, just so it's just nice and light and fluffy to just spread over the top of the seeds that are going in the seed tray for future planting. So that just gives you another thing. Plus I use that whenever I go and harvest the charcoal from the campfires. I take the 1/4 sieve with me because that takes all the ash out. Yeah, I know ash has minerals, but it's also alkaline. So remember, I need to acidify my soil, not alkalize my soil. So there we have it. The only other thing that I want to mention is that I have this fixed up cultivator that I just use in here. And so when I'm taking those buckets that I use in my kitchen to bring outside, I dump them in the hole that I create. So I'll dig a hole, and then I'll put the bucket in there, and then I'll cover it back up again and let it do its process until such time as I can turn the whole thing. So that's why I do the little tabletop bucket thing from my kitchen. These have been used for many years, you can see. As long as there's a small container like that, it doesn't stink up the house. You know, you're going to be taking this out several times a week. The only thing I do is I put a piece of paper in the bottom so it doesn't stick. Dump the whole lot out. There we have it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope again it's not too long. I wanted it to be educational, and I wanted you to say, I can do that. I can do that process. I can do it his way until I find my way. I'm not telling you to do it my way. In no way am I telling you to do it my way. I'm telling you to find your way by this example here, which will give you a good result no matter what, because I've taken all the science and all the engineering and all the design arts all into action, and I've created this process. Any questions, park them in the comments. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next vid. Cheers.